Okay, let's go.
Hey guys, welcome back to EndZone Sports. It's your host Tim here with Paul. Just us two today. The other two guys are out sick, but we're here to bring you our Week 4 pick'ems. Really excited to kick things off. Paul, you want to kick us off with our Thursday night football game?
Yes, sir. All right, kicking off an exciting Week 4 Thursday night game. We have Detroit traveling to Lambeau Field to play the Green Bay Packers. This one should be a great matchup as opposed to some of the Thursday night games we've been getting. Both have a great offense. Both pretty young, exciting teams. Currently, right now, Detroit is favored in this one. Green Bay does have a little bit of injuries concern. Aaron Jones, Jair Alexander, both questionable still. They missed last game, so if they do play, it might turn the tide. As well as Christian Watkins. Currently, recording this on Tuesday night, I'm gonna have to go with the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I think Detroit's playing pretty well right now. Their defense is looking much improved from last season. And like you said, I mean, if Aaron Jones, Jair Alexander, and Christian Watkins are, still questionable, doesn't look very likely that all three of them are going to play. Maybe one of the three can kind of come out there and do something. But even if they are out there, man, I got to give props to Dan Campbell. I think that he's, kind of turning this team into a well-formed unit. And Ben Johnson's, starting to make some plays on offense. Got to go with Detroit. And sorry, Jordan Love, your Lambeau luck might be running out here.
All right, I like it. And then to kick off the Sunday slate, we have the London game kicking off at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Whew. That's the one thing I don't like about one thing I don't like about the London games. But of course, we have Jacksonville playing their home game in London, going up against the Atlanta Falcons. This one should be another exciting game. Two young teams, a lot to prove. They've kind of had some fluky seasons so far. Atlanta is 2-0 or 2-1. I'm sorry. One of those being a late win, kind of surprising for Atlanta. Jacksonville struggling last week against Houston, majorly, and then coming off of 2 losses. As it is a home game, basically, for Jacksonville. I don't think Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars offense will keep this slump going. I think they are just a little bit overpowered going up against Atlanta, so I think they're gonna be taking this one.
Yeah, and again, I'm gonna have to agree. I think that Jacksonville's biggest con is just their pass rush. I don't think it's pretty non-existent, especially for the amount of assets that or the amount of draft picks and draft capital they've utilized on the position. It's just not really working out for them. But the good thing is that Atlanta doesn't really have a good, stable passing attack. So I think that Jacksonville's seriously, Desmond Ridder just doesn't look too hot yet. Don't really think he's gonna be that guy. But I mean, their run game is still really strong. Their defense is playing much better than expected, that's for sure. But again, I like you said, I think Jacksonville is going to look to bounce back after kind of getting a little bit of a whooping from Houston. But yeah, we'll see how things play out. But it should be a good game. Yeah, that 9 a.m. kickoff time is going to be a little rough. But you know what, man, I'm kind of glad they're growing the game internationally.
Well, the big question is, where are you watching the broadcast? Are you watching the Disney animated one? Kind of excited to see what that one will look like, honestly, or ESPN. I mean.
Gotta go Disney, man. Gotta go Disney.
I'm just curious what they'll do, but all right, keeping it moving. Here we got one of the more exciting games of the weekend, kicking it off at noon kickoff in Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park. We have Miami Dolphins traveling to Buffalo to take on the Buffalo Bills. This one is going to be a very exciting game. Both have great offenses and pretty stout defenses as well. I know Miami scored 70 points last week and 36, I believe, the first week. But those were against two kind of subpar defenses. The one matchup, they did play a good defense this year in the New England Patriots. They did kind of struggle as far as Miami standards. Buffalo looked fantastic last week on defense. I think they're going to be riding this, especially with the home game. I think they're going to kind of hold up, and it might be a shootout, but I think they're going to get that last game-winning turnover against Miami.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's going to be definitely an exciting game. I'm really happy that we get to see a matchup like this at the noon kickoff slot. But like you said, yeah, I know that you can't score 70 points every single game. And Buffalo's defense, is definitely put on a show last week against Washington. But man, I can't go against Miami, man. They have too many weapons. The speed is just insane. Mike McDaniel's, calling plays like a genius. I know that they did struggle a little bit against New England. I think it was kind of a wet weather game, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of happy though that they're playing in Buffalo in September. I bet I don't really see this offense doing it as hot maybe during let's say a December time frame, outdoor stadium. So I think I'm gonna have to go with Miami here. And not necessarily because they're just the better overall team. I do think that Buffalo has the more well-rounded, put together team. But with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle didn't even play last week. So Jalen Waddle's going to come back fresh, I think. And I just don't see how you're not going to have Miami putting up, insane amount of yards and points against this defense. Like you said, though, definitely a better defense than what they've played Denver last week. But we'll have to wait and see, man. It's going to be a good one for sure.
And then with that exciting matchup, the other one that kicks off at noon that I will not be partaking in is Denver Broncos traveling into Chicago to play the Bears. Both teams coming off a major upset or major kind of just ass whooping. Denver dropping defense, giving up 70 after I thought they had a pretty decent defense. And then Chicago giving up 41 to the Kansas City Chiefs. Even though this one is in Chicago, I still think Denver and Russ is going to pull together. It's his game to lose. I think it should be a gimme for them. The Bears' defense is just terrible, and then their offense is in shambles at the moment. So this one could be a toss-up, but I think Denver is going to be taking it one.
Yeah, man, I think that this is, like you said, not the most exciting matchup, but I do hope there's some coverage. I hope that Caleb Williams is in a press box like Taylor Swift, because honestly, these are two teams that are kind of competing to potentially draft them with the first overall pick. Like you said, I think that, Denver, they just came off of that whooping again from Miami. So I do have to give the nod to Sean Payton, though, and Russell Wilson. I think that they're going to be able to respond a little bit better. But, dude, with the Bears, I don't get it, man. Like, Matt Eberflus was able to kind of do some magic with Indianapolis, and their defense is just terrible, and then their offense just looks worse and worse every week. Like, I don't understand how Justin Fields went from being kind of a solid quarterback last year to now it's like Bears fans, it just looks like they're over it. So we'll see how things go it's still a lot of football and a lot of season left. But I feel like if Fields isn't able to, at least pull a win here, I really don't see how he's going to be able to keep that job going into next year.
I can tell you the one thing is the 12 designed runs through 3 games. He should be averaging 12 rushing attempts per game. I
agree with you there.
Going on to this next game here, we got the Baltimore Ravens traveling to Cleveland to play the Browns. This one's going to be a great matchup. Both teams are very kind of fit together. Obviously, it's a divisional matchup, being in the AFC North, so teams are kind of schemed up to be able to protect against the other guys. I think the big pivotal key matchup in this one is going to be just the Cleveland defense, more particularly the pass rush. Myles Garrett is playing at a extraordinary level right now. I just don't think Baltimore's offensive line can block, and they're just a solid unit all the way around. I think they're gonna be able to contain the run. They have good linebackers. JOK he can easily guard Mark Andrews, and then Denzel Ward is just playing at an all-pro level, so I think he'll be easily able to guard their outside threat there. So I'm taking Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Cleveland too. I think their defense is just absolutely stacked. Like I've said in previous weeks, I know that defense isn't really the sexiest thing to talk about, but when you have a front seven that includes Darius Smith and Myles Garrett and those big boys, those hog mollies down in the trenches there, the defensive tackle, I just don't see how Baltimore is really going to establish a good run game, and I think that's kind of key to their offense. Still, I know that they were supposed to be pushing away from that and going to more of a pass heavy scheme, but I haven't seen it yet. And even if they tried to, Cleveland still has a solid secondary with good corners. So I'm going to have to go with you there. The only thing to maybe take a look at is, is Deshaun Watson going to potentially choke this game away? It looks like he just makes, consistent mistakes. And although he's slightly improving, it looks like, I just don't know. I just don't see him really, being able to pull a game away like he did back when he was in Houston. So again, I think that Cleveland's going to heavily have to rely on their run game again, but I just think that, they're still a solid offensive line unit, even without Jack Conklin. So I still would have to give my nod and my hat off to Cleveland. I think they're going to be able to take this one, and I don't think it should be a very close game, to be honest.
Yeah. All right, next one we have the rematch of the great AFC divisional matchup from a couple years ago. Cincinnati Bengals going to Tennessee to play the Titans. Should be a great game if the offensive line for the Tennessee Titans can hold up. They are a little banged up. Derrick Henry seems like age may be catching up to him. Ryan Tannehill is struggling mightily. And then the Tennessee receiving core is not all there yet. Their defense is playing pretty good so far. They're a great run stuffing team. So they may give Burrow some pressures on it from the inside. Even with Burrow being still kind of injured, Jamar Chase really showed that he's kind of back at it. And then as well as Joe Mixon had a great game last night. So I'm going to go with the Bengals. Joe Burrow is 2-0 against Titans, so I think he's going to continue that one.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those tough ones. You're going against a good Mike Vrabel defense. So it's like, congrats, Joe Burrow. I know you just beat Aaron Donald and the Rams, but hey, have fun going against Jeffrey Simmons and the Tennessee Titans defense, who arguably could be better when the season's said and done. But like you said, I mean, I just think that with Burrow and Chase kind of getting back into stride, I don't know how Tennessee's able to keep up offensively. Tannehill's been very inconsistent, as you said. Their wide receivers, DeAndre Hopkins, I don't see how he's going to be a factor until he gets the ball more in his hands. And like you kind of mentioned with Derrick Henry, I don't want to know, or I don't want to state that it's just an age thing yet. Their offensive line has been pretty banged up and has missed some games, but I mean, I'm going to give it a little more time. But right now, man, I just don't see how Tennessee is going to be able to catch up if since he takes a 2-score lead in the first half. But definitely should be a good one. And again, never count a Mike Vrabel defense out, but I'm going to have to go with the Bengals here.
Yeah, and especially kind of one other thing I want to bring up, the Cincinnati pass rush last night. They just absolutely demolished a banged up Rams offensive line. Had 6 sacks just from their edge guys alone. I think they're one of the more underrated defenses, but Hendrickson and Hubbard, I mean, that is such a fun duo to watch. They're just always wrecking havoc. But again,
I agree with you, man. And like similar to the Rams, dude, the Tennessee, they have a young offensive line, so I think Cincy should be able to take advantage of that. But really random question though, what are your thoughts about Joe Burrow playing right now? I mean, there was a lot of things going back and forth about the calf and how that could potentially strain into a potential Achilles problem. I mean, it looked you look at Aaron Rodgers and that happened. Do you think that if you're the Bengals head coach, like Tennessee, still a solid team, but if the Bengals are able to pull a 2-score game or 2-score lead, would you consider resting Joe Burrow a series or two, or do you just kind of say let it rip and
maybe a 3? If they got up 3 scores early, I would just bench them, put in whoever they got at quarterback, and then kind of just ride the defense and ride Joe Mixon for the rest of the game.
Right, because it's just tough. I mean, it's definitely a trade-off. Like you don't want to start the season off going like 1-3.
Yeah.
But I mean, dude, if you hurt, I mean, if Joe Burrow is out for any sort of extensive period of time, dude, this team is in shambles. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think they might be able to win a game or two here and there, but I mean, if he's out, let's just say 6 weeks, dude, I don't see this team winning more than 1 or 2 games, especially in the division they're in.
Fair point. All right, moving along here, we got the Los Angeles Rams going into Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Another kind of interesting matchup that could go either way. Anthony Richardson should be back. With that being said, I think Gardner Minshew has really done a great job filling in the meantime. I know he's a solid quarterback. He gets a lot of hate, but he's been doing a good job with this Colts offense. As far as the Rams, their offensive line is absolutely demolished. Like I said before, and the Colts have a decent line, decent defensive line. So I think they're going to be still getting a lot of pressure. And with Matt Stafford's kind of age and inability to escape the rush, you notice that he did get sacked a lot last night. as well as he did end up throwing 2 interceptions. Was still with no Cooper Kupp. I know Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams have been, carrying everyone's fantasy teams and doing great for a couple of games so far. I'm thinking Indianapolis is going to be taking this one out just with the defense alone.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a close one. I think this is one that I really want to watch closely because I think it can kind of determine, if these two teams actually have a shot at playoffs or not. The Rams, like you said, their offensive line is not doing too hot, and Indianapolis's D line is definitely a lot. It's a lot to handle. DeForest Buckner down the middle there is not going to be easy. If I'm not mistaken, they have Samson Mabukum, who's been a very, very stud pass rusher for him. But I just want to point out that, man, Anthony Richardson, I like him a lot. And I think he has a lot of tools, but he definitely is going to have to look at some other options. I mean, I think that the Rams have a little bit of an inexperienced secondary, but they're doing okay. But I mean, with Byron Young and Aaron Donald, man, I don't see how Richardson's going to be able to really look through all of his progressions. Like, he's going to have to learn that if it's not there, you got to just scramble. And I don't know if he's there just yet. Like you said, Gardner Minshew played a hell of a game last week, so I wouldn't be surprised maybe if they kind of give him the hat or give him the nod for week 4 here, just to double check with Richardson and his concussion. But yeah, I think that Richardson will probably start. I still got to give my give the nod to Stafford. He's got a little bit more experience, and his young receivers have really developed and come along into being some pretty good playmakers. And Indianapolis secondary, they're very young and inexperienced as well. I think they just have Kenny Moore, who's a really significant factor, and he primarily plays in the slot. So should be a good game. Again, I'm really interested to see, because if any of these two teams, goes 2 and I believe the Rams would be 2-2, the Colts would also be 2-2. If those two teams are able to do that, man, I really would like to see maybe one of them push for a wild card.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I think that could happen easily. All right, next matchup we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going into New Orleans to play the Saints. Again, another interesting matchup, just mainly because of injuries. Derek Carr being the obvious one. He is day-to-day, had a sprained AC joint. So he will most likely not be playing. So it is Jameis Winston's show. With that being said, they do have Alvin Kamara coming back. Depending on his conditioning, what kind of snap count he's going to be put under, I assume he's still been working out and he's going to be 100% to go. With that being said, the Tampa Bay offense really goes through Mike Evans right now. He's been on a roll. But it's the New Orleans Saints and Marshawn Lattimore, and Marshawn Lattimore owns Mike Evans. So they just, either one of them is going to get ejected from the game. Most likely it's been Mike Evans in the past. So I'm going to go with the Saints.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Tampa here. But I agree with you. I think it's gonna be like, I wonder what the Vegas books are for if a fight breaks out, who gets ejected. What are the odds to that? But I would probably take those odds. But even with Mike Evans, if he's not out, man, Chris Godwin, he still had a pretty significant game last week. And you know what, man? I think that Jameis Winston is fun and he's a great guy to have in the locker room, but I just don't think he's that good of a quarterback. And Alvin Kamara, like you said, he's going to be coming in. He'll be fresh, and so that'll be fun to watch and see him play. Yeah, their front seven looks like just a bunch of studs, man. Their linebackers are great. Vita Vea in the middle, Kalijah Kancey also is producing pretty well for a rookie. So I don't know if New Orleans offensive line is really going to be able to put up good run blocking stats for him. But or good run blocking situations for him. But, I can't tell you that New Orleans is going to get blown out here. I really would like to roll with Baker in the Bucs. I think that he's, going to be kind of going into this game with a little bit of an attitude after coming off of last week's loss.
Yeah, Baker's definitely got a chip on his shoulder, that's for sure. All right, and one of the more easier predicting games I feel is Washington Commanders going into Philadelphia to play the Eagles. Washington looked like an absolute mess last week. We kind of get a false hope week 2. They looked like they were going to be, surprisingly good team. Beat up on pulled the victory out over the Broncos. Obviously, the Broncos defense doesn't look like they're all that they cracked up to be. Eagles, they are rolling. They're clicking on all cylinders. Nobody can stop the tushy push. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the Eagles there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go there with you. I think that Washington's kind of turned back into a pumpkin. Their offense just doesn't look good. Sam Howell just kind of had just a really terrible game last week. Not saying that they're going to be, in the long run, not a better producing offense, but I just think that, Philly should be able to win this. It's at home. Their defense is just incredible. Jalen Carter looks like a stud, and I can't believe that he went so late. I will say that, man, I still don't know if I believe in Philly's offense 100% yet. I don't think it's the same group that was out there last year. I think that they are kind of struggling here and there, and Jalen Hurts doesn't look like the same guy, but I don't think it really matters when you're able to run the ball and run it successfully.
If you have DeAndre Swift, a mainly pass-catching running back, getting 180 yards on the ground, I mean, that's tough to stop.
You don't need to pass the ball. Yeah, I agree.
All right, and then next game up, we have Minnesota going to Carolina to play the Panthers. Minnesota may be the best 0-3 team I've ever seen. Kirk Cousins is playing on another level. He has absolute weapons all around. Their defense is just selling them at every chance they can possibly get. At one point or another, they have to get a victory. Big question is who's going to play in Carolina. Bryce Young did miss last week, but they did pretty well with Andy Dalton, who looked like prime Andy Dalton back again. I do believe if they do want to have Young play, he's going to be starting again. But with that being said, I'm going to take the Vikings here.
Yeah, I think Bryce Young is out this week. But like you said, I think Minnesota's offense is just too electric. I know that their defense has let them down, but this is a good game to build some confidence back. Carolina, they have some weapons. It just looks like a mashup of weapons. I don't know if they did a great job, going after the quarterback and giving up all that they did for them not to really provide an opportunity for him to succeed. Kind of like the opposite of the approach of going and getting all the pieces and then getting the quarterback. They just were like, oh, Bryce Young will be the savior, and it just hasn't really looked that way. Like you mentioned, though, Andy Dalton did play pretty well, but I just don't think that they're going to be able to keep up. Like you mentioned, Kirk's got so many weapons. He's going to be able to pass the ball a lot. I don't think that Minnesota is going to go into this, and potentially choke it out, but you never know. I will say though, if they do go 0-4, they got to sell the sink, dude. They got to get rid of Kirk. They got to maybe even look at exploring options for Hawkinson and maybe some other pieces on the O-line, but definitely can't trade Justin Jefferson, I don't think, but I think he might request one here if they don't start turning things around.
All right, next game up, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Houston Texans. This one's another interesting one. The Pittsburgh offense just does not look very good, although their defense is looking fantastic. TJ Watt coming off the edge with, he's also in the race for Defensive Player of the Year, as well as Alex Highsmith on the other side. Those two guys just absolutely cause havoc. I believe the Texans' offensive line is still a little banged up, so it'll be an interesting game. I think this might be the first sign that CJ Stroud has as a rookie quarterback and kind of gets that welcome to the league moment. It's going to be easily the best defense he's played so far. I think he's just going to be under pressure all night. I would have to take the Pittsburgh Steelers on this, even though they have such a bad offense.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. I think that Pittsburgh's defense is just insane. TJ Watt's playing like an all-pro. I think he's just going to be wreckage shop, but I wouldn't knock CJ Stroud. I think that he's going to still play really well. I don't know why I have a gut feeling this could potentially be not necessarily a shootout, but a little bit of a higher scoring game than people think. I like what Stroud was able to do in week 3. I know Jacksonville, their pass rush isn't really there, but it looked like Stroud was able to just get the ball out pretty quickly to his playmakers and let them make plays. Something that Kenny Pickett and Matt Canada really needs to do and put together in his offense. So I'm going to really just going to have to roll with Pittsburgh, though. I think their defense is just a little too good. And even though their offense might stalemate a bit, you're going to see something break out between Calvin Austin, George Pickens, Jalen Warren. I guarantee you one of those guys will bust one, and that will help them, set up for good scoring opportunities.
All right, next game up, we have the Las Vegas Raiders going to Los Angeles to play the Chargers. Jimmy Garoppolo is kind of question mark. He did have, I believe he's under concussion protocol. With that being said, I think Los Angeles played a great game last week. Even with the loss of Mike Williams, I think they're still going to be taking this one home.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that the Chargers were playing to keep their head coach's job. I think they're going to be able to capitalize against the pretty lost Raiders franchise right now. Tyree Wilson hasn't really lived up to what he should be at the moment. He still looks like he's on a pitch count. Dude, Chris Jones, I don't know what the heck is going on with that. So really, man, with the Raiders, it's just like I don't see how they're going to be able to, keep up with the Chargers' electric offense. And this really should help the Chargers get back up into speed for the wild card race. They'll be 2-2 after this. But yeah, gonna have to go fully with the Chargers there.
All right. Next up, we got the New England Patriots taking on the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. I don't see Dallas dropping 2 games in a row. They did struggle last week, but I think that was just a trap game. Had a lot of injuries. May not have been focused too much, but I think they're going to be coming back and giving it all they got this weekend. So I think they'll be taking it against the Patriots.
Yeah, dude, I agree. I think that last week was a bit of a fluke and a little bit of a cheap shot. So I think they're going to come back with an uppercut. Their offensive line should be not fully healthy necessarily, but I think that most of them should be coming back. So I think Pollard should have a pretty effective game. I think that they should be able to help block against the New England pass rush, which is a pretty decent part of their defense. But we'll see, man. I don't know if Mac Jones is going to play. He's potentially suspended, so I'm going to throw that out there. But I'm going to have to roll with the Cowboys here.
Yeah. All right. Then we got the 2 NFC juggernauts, Arizona Cardinals, going into San Francisco to play the 49ers. Arizona coming off a hot win against the Dallas Cowboys. With that being said, I don't think Josh Dobbs is going to take it against the 49ers. Amazing defense, and then their offense is just fantastic right now. Even if Ayuk, if he is, or even if he doesn't play, they just have weapons all around the field. I'm going to go San Francisco.
Yeah, man, I'm going to go with you there. Pretty much a surefire to me. Don't see Dobbs being able to work his magic twice. The only thing I will say about this, I really hope that they don't give Christian McCaffrey so many touches, man. It feels like they've been giving him the ball way too much, and it looks like it could potentially, wear him down throughout the season. We'll see, though. Again, I think that Arizona shouldn't be able to keep up offensively, so got to give my hat to San Francisco.
All right, in the Sunday night game, we got the Kansas City Chiefs going into New York to play the Jets. As long as Zach Wilson is playing, they don't have a chance to win. I know the defense of the Jets is good. I still think the Kansas City Chiefs offense is just too overpowered. And now they have Taylor Swift on their side, so I don't think there's any chance. Chiefs.
Oh, I agree with you, man. In New York at MetLife, Taylor's going to be in the press box. Gonna get all the Swifties involved.
I don't think Zach Wilson's gonna make it into the stadium.
I agree, man. They're gonna be ripping him apart. No, so I agree with you, man. I think that Kansas City should win this, no question. Kind of sad to see the fall of Zach Wilson. I think that he's getting a lot more hate, especially now from Joe Namath, which I saw, which is pretty sad to see. But you know what, man? He's a young player, and he had several years, including some months with Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, got to go Kansas City, man. Patrick Mahomes should be able to take this and probably sit throughout the fourth quarter again, like he did last week.
All right, and final matchup of week 4. We finally have a primetime Monday night game. None of this sharing primetime air. We have the Seattle Seahawks going into New York to play the Giants. The big question for the Giants is Saquon Barkley going to be healthy? Missed last week with an ankle injury. I don't know if he's going to be ready, or I don't think they should honestly play him. Even though the Seahawks do have a tendency to give up a lot against the run. I think the Seahawks right now, their offense is clicking. K9 looked great last week. Geno Smith playing a great game, so I think the Seahawks are gonna be taking this one.
Yeah, man, I agree. I think that Geno is looking really good. Their defense is getting better, each week. Again, like you said, Saquon is probably going to be out, and Danny Dimes and his weapons have not worked out, and that offensive line still looks a little shaky. So, yeah, I think Seattle's going to be able to take this one pretty easily, even though it's a home field advantage for the Giants. What a letdown. From coach of the year to potentially a top 5, overall draft selection. It's just not been the Giants' year.
Yeah, that's for sure. And all right, thank you for joining us in the end zone today. Again, I'm Paul, and that was Tim. Let us know what you thought of our pick'ems. Again, the other two, Brandon and Ryan, were not able to make it today. Their picks are going to be up here shortly. We did make sure they went before, so we got everything. No flip-flop in here. But let us know what y'all think. If y'all are following along, let us know down what your record is down below. But until next week.